What is the most fucked up thing a person you know has done? Friend was in her final year of university. She had strong grades, and a really great internship lined up with a place she dreamed about working at, that almost certainly would have led to a great job. Her parents faked her younger brother's death on the day when she had 3 finals back to back to back. They wanted to test whether she cared more about her family or her career, supposedly. She raced home in panic and grief, getting plane tickets and flying across the country, trying to get deferred exams on short notice. One of her professors, who helmed 2 of those classes, required a death certificate which she couldn't get, since her brother was alive and well. She didn't get to graduate because of that, at least not in that semester, and she lost her dream internship. Thankfully, she got a good job after graduating half a year later, not nearly as good as the one she lost out on, and she's largely cut her parents out of her life. My uncle is a real piece of the scummiest human being I believe I will ever know. The most messed up thing he has done is a cycle that he has repeated far too many times. He starts a family, then runs away. He would be convincing these women he's a good guy or whatever, gets them pregnant, and leaves once the baby is out. And when trying to leave, he's always desperate for money, so he does something shitty to family members to get out of there. For example, stealing my dad's identity to open new credit cards and then attempting to transfer the bank cards to his name to drain them. One time he took a business loan with his first son, took it all and dipped. To top it all off, sometimes he goes back to the women after the kid is popped out to manipulate them into sleeping with them again. He has been in and out of jail his whole life, and I wish he would just sit in there and rot. Every couple of years I have strangers reaching out, saying they're part of Aaron's family, and they want to meet their extended family. You hate Aaron? Yeah, us the fucking 2, welcome to the family. I know 3 mother Aaron Juniors with different moms named after the same dousebag. To my knowledge he's up to 5 families. 3 of those have 2 kids. He raised none of those kids. He's currently missing, so following this cycle, he's going to pop up again soon, with some woman, either pregnant or with child, and be like, I got my life together family. Come here, let's be friends. Then do some slimy to try to get money from someone. Aaron, you suck. I was getting out of the army and had put back over $70,000 for a home for my family. My mother got my banking information and took every penny for drugs. When I tried suing her, my family disowned me. I have epilepsy. I had multiple breaks through focal seizures in the span of an hour, which is when I'm supposed to take my emergency meds to prevent a generalized grand mal seizure. I couldn't get out of bed and asked my soon-to-be ex-husband to get the meds. He claimed he couldn't find them and acted annoyed when I asked him to look harder, because they were only ever kept in the same spot. Within an hour or so, I had a grand mal seizure, and he left to go to the bar, leaving me seizing home alone with our young kids. My son knows only to call 911 in certain circumstances, so he called him asking where he went because he was worried about how long it was taking me to wake up. He told him he'd be right home, but what he actually did was block my son's number and stay out all night. The next day, I found my emergency meds in his car. He slept with his son's long-term girlfriend who was his son's first love. Told his son like it was no big deal. He told us about it at work, and said his son was being a bit of a bitch about it. We then watched his life fall apart as both his kids cut him out of their lives. Dude found out he became a grandpa from his older daughter via an email with no pictures. There was a decomposing dead cat stuck between a fence and a wall next to the gym in my school. If physical education was our first lesson, we had to wait in front of the gym until someone fetched the keys. My friend Jason went to fetch the keys and left his bag. This fat class bully Toby used 2 sticks to pick up the dead cat, opened Jason's bag, and put the cat in. Jason hasn't noticed anything until we were in the locker room. He opened the bag, saw the dead cat, dropped the bag, cat fell apart, class was cancelled. Cleaning company had to disinfect the locker room. My aunt and uncle are rather wealthy farmers. They have spent the last several decades building up new divisions of the business for their kids to run, and eventually inherit. One of the big expansions was going from simply raising beef cattle to handling the butchering and selling the meat themselves. Anyway, for the butcher shop they built a beautiful $1 million shop and sent my cousin's husband to butcher school to get all his licensing to be the operations manager, while my cousin would be bookkeeper. They never did a thing to earn it, and were essentially handed a golden ticket. It's a little complicated what happened next, but after a few years my aunt and uncle started getting negative feedback about how the place is run. When they spoke to my cousin's husband, they offered him more money thinking it was a motivation issue. They were already overpaid and could afford their own $1 million home. The husband made a snarky retort that he already makes that much. That raised red flags. They ended up looking at the accounts, and things seemed fishy. They went to the business after hours and took the bookkeeping files. The husband found out, and drove to their house to essentially scream at them in rage. In the end it turns out they had embezzled over $1 million by cooking the books. They got kicked out of the family business with no legal repercussions and a fat buyout bonus, and generally have little to do with any of the family. My aunt and uncle have made attempts at reconciliation because they want to see their grandchildren but have been thus far rejected. It's insane because they were handed everything, and it still wasn't good enough. They were going to inherit the business, and they blew it. I was casually dating a woman who began constantly pressing me to sleep together very early in the relationship. After several months of non-intercourse fooling around, I decided to do it. The plan was dinner at her place, then spend the night together. After dinner and a couple of bottles of wine, the fun began. At one point the condom broke, but she said, "Don't worry, I'm on the pill." My response was, "Fine, show them to me." She could not neither the pills nor her prescription. Something told me to check the trash, where I discovered a condom wrapper with a pinhole in it. Upon confronting her, she confessed and told me that she had had a daughter who committed and that God owed her another child. Suffice to say that was it, or so I thought. Now 20 years later I have a son who I won custody of at age 4 and is now an engineering student. She owes me $600,000 in back child support from which I will probably never see a penny. And I have discovered that family courts hate men. There's a lot to pick from, but one of my ex-coworkers euthanized her 2 cats because she was getting a new couch and didn't want them to ruin it. She told us this at work and didn't get why she got a bunch of blank stares back. My friend went to party out of the country with his girlfriend, his male friend, and his female friend. They were at the club and his female friend, who is his girlfriend's best friend, told him that she has never kissed anyone and that she wants her first kiss to be special. He grabbed her head and started French kissing her while she tried to make him stop. His girlfriend was laughing about it. Afterwards, he recorded her crying about it in a taxi while mocking her, and he posted that vid to his close friends on Instagram. My best friend at the time had depression and drinking issues. One night he got really drunk, and I think drugs were in the mix, and he stole a gun out of his neighbor's barn and shot one of his toes off on purpose. He's doing better now, thankfully. My dad cheated on my mom for a year and hid it. He got fired because it was with a coworker, but told us all he got laid off. We all spent a year feeling bad for him and trying to help him out. Meanwhile, he was sneaking around using his severance money to take his mistress out on little trips. It's the worst thing anyone I know has ever done, and it was from the guy I should be looking up to. My buddy was raised by a single mother, and had a young sister named Bella who had a different father. Bella's father dated his mother for a while, before they eventually split because this guy was an asshole. There was this kid in our school, and I guess his dad was friends with Bella's dad. This kid started hanging out with my buddy a lot, going over to his place to play video games, drinking with us, etc. About 6 months later, my buddy's mom was in court because Bella's dad wanted custody. They called this kid from school in as a character witness, and he essentially told the court that my buddy's mom was a horrible mother, smoked weed all the time, and didn't take care of the kids. I know her well, and she does everything for her kids. As a single mother, I have the utmost respect for her. We found out that this kid's dad told him to become friends with my buddy so he could be used as a character witness to help take my buddy's sister away. I don't know whether I was more disgusted by the kid or his dad for telling him to do it. The funny thing is, even with that testimony, Bella's dad was such a d-bag the court still gave custody to my buddy's mom. We all hang out now, and it's crazy to think my buddy's little sister could have been taken because of these lying scumbags. My former stepmother drained my father's bank account within minutes of his death, and only gave back what she didn't blow on Amazon packages once we called her out on it. To add insult to injury, we froze his accounts, and there was evidence that she tried to draw out more which she put back immediately afterwards, which means that she had intended to overdraft his account and leave my sister and I with his debt. We're currently in the process of selling his house, which she wrecked shortly before we made her vacate the place, and we are still trying to pay off his mortgage. She then tried to make a claim to his estate by claiming to have magically become pregnant a week before his death, despite the fact that they had been together for over a decade. My sister managed to get her to send an ultrasound photo she claimed to have, and it turned out that she had paid $30 to a website for a stock ultrasound photo that she had edited fake information onto. It's been about 5 months since we last had contact from her, so I don't know what she's planning currently. My sister set up a GoFundMe to help my mother with bills and the like while she was undergoing chemo for multiple myeloma. They got about $10,000 when it was up. So my sister got this direct deposited into her account, then took her daughter to Atlanta and tried to get her on The Voice. That didn't work out, but my sister partied her ass off the whole time. Then she came back and realized that the money she had spent was my mom's GoFundMe. My mom was distraught and pissed, but they came to an agreement where my sister would pay her back this money over time, as long as my mom wouldn't press charges. She signed a contract to this effect. Like 3 months go by, and my sister just stopped paying. My mom gave her 3 more months while practically begging, but still no money. Mom got sister arrested. Sister reached out to the entire family, who then called and told my mom how much of a piece of She was for having her daughter arrested, she had her daughters calling to beg their granny to drop the charges, etc. So, she dropped the charges, not wanting to be ostracized from her entire family for the rest of her life. Never saw a penny from my sister after that either. This is why I will never acknowledge my sister's existence, ever again.